Canada is the fourth largest oil producer in the world, yet 98% of its crude is sent to one country, the United States. As the world turns toward cleaner energy, can a $34 billion pipeline really change the game for Canada's economy? Let's find out. This story encapsulates ambition, economics, and a battle against time. This isn't just about oil, it's about identity, survival, and the future of a nation. Let's start with the basics. Canada ranks fourth in the world for oil production, following the heavyweights, the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. It's a title to be proud of, but the reality is more complicated. While it produces millions of barrels every day, over 98% of Canada's crude oil is shipped to a single customer, the United States. Now, here's the problem. This reliance on the U.S. market has left Canada vulnerable to price fluctuations, American tariffs, and changing political winds. When Washington moves, Ottawa shakes. That's not just rhetoric, it's hard numbers. Here's the economic hit. In 2020, during COVID-19 and the oil price collapse, Canada's energy sector lost an estimated $70 billion. That's $70 billion that could have been cushioned had Canada diversified its markets sooner. If you are enjoying our content, please hit the like button. To help us even more, please share and leave your thoughts and feedback in the comments. Your engagement helps us grow. Thank you. The Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion isn't just a bigger pipe, it's a ticket to new markets. Specifically, Asia. Think about this. India, Japan, and China are energy-hungry nations desperate for more oil, and they're willing to pay a premium for it. Right now, Canadian oil is heavily discounted in the US due to transportation bottlenecks. With the expanded pipeline, Canadian oil could fetch global market prices, adding billions of dollars in revenue annually. The estimate? An extra $4.5 billion a year in economic benefits for Canada. That means a new pipeline isn't just infrastructure, it's economic liberation. But to get there, Canada needs to navigate treacherous waters, opposition from environmental groups, indigenous protests, and a market that's shifting faster than ever towards clean energy. The Trans Mountain Pipeline has always been a controversial project. Built in 1953, it was hailed as a marvel of modern engineering. 1,150 kilometers of pipe snaking from Alberta to British Columbia. But that was then. Today, it's become a flashpoint in Canada's national debate on oil and the environment. Here's where things get sticky. Since the expansion was proposed in 2013, it's faced over 100 legal challenges, many from indigenous groups who argue that the pipeline cuts through their ancestral lands without their consent. And they're not alone. Environmental activists are blocking construction sites, and some provincial governments, like British Columbia's, are throwing up regulatory roadblocks. Every delay comes with a price tag. The project's cost has ballooned from an initial estimate of $4.5 billion to over $30 billion. That's right, a 580% cost overrun. And who's footing the bill? Canadian taxpayers. Let's shift our focus south of the border. The expansion of the Trans Mountain Pipeline is sending ripples through U.S. refineries, particularly in the Midwest. Why? Because right now, those refiners are getting Canadian crude on the cheap. But if Canada starts exporting more to Asia, that's going to cut into their supply. U.S. refiners, especially in the Midwest, have grown accustomed to steep discounts on Canadian oil. As Canada opens up new markets, those discounts will shrink, likely driving up prices for refineries in places like Illinois and Indiana. We could see Midwest gas prices increase by 5 to 10% over the next 5 years. It's not just about oil prices either. U.S. refiners might have to shift their focus to more expensive imports from other regions, causing ripples throughout the entire supply chain. Beyond the economics, the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion is a geopolitical power play. For decades, Canada has been tethered to US energy demands. Now, with access to Asia, it's rewriting the rules of the game. Expanding Canada's reach into Asia means diversifying its economic dependencies. This gives Canada leverage in trade negotiations, not just with the US, but also with global superpowers like China and India. It's a bold move in an increasingly fragmented global energy market. This pipeline is more than just an economic tool. It's a diplomatic one. It allows Canada to engage on a more equal footing with energy giants, boosting its global influence in ways we've never seen before. And now, the elephant in the room, climate change. Canada has pledged to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40 to 45% by 2030. But how does building a $34 billion oil pipeline fit into that? Canada's climate commitments are clear, but the country's economic structure is still heavily dependent on oil. The Trudeau administration is in a bind, trying to transition to clean energy while maintaining a thriving oil sector. It's a paradox, and the Trans Mountain expansion highlights the difficulty of balancing these competing priorities. Environmentalists argue that building new oil infrastructure is a step backward. The Canadian government, however, says the pipeline is a temporary measure as they ramp up renewable energy. But with timelines for climate change ticking down, is that an argument we can afford? The world is moving toward clean energy, fast. By 2050, experts predict that renewable energy could account for more than 50% of global power generation. So, what happens if this pipeline, designed to last decades, becomes obsolete in just 10 or 15 years? This is the long-term risk. Canada could be left holding a multi-billion-dollar stranded asset, a project that no longer has market relevance because the world has moved on. Already, European countries are imposing stricter carbon taxes, and demand for fossil fuels is shrinking. The Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion is a bet on the future of oil. But what happens if that bet doesn't pay off? Canada could find itself on the wrong side of history, clinging to oil while the world turns to wind, solar, and hydrogen. But one thing is clear. This pipeline is more than just a project. It's a symbol of the global energy battle playing out right now, with Canada standing right in the middle. What do you think? Is Canada's oil future secure, or is it teetering on the edge of collapse? We hope you are enjoying this video. We're thrilled to have you with us today. If our content struck a chord or sparked some inspiration, go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe to join our awesome community. Please share this video to help us grow. Your support is super valuable. Check out another video from our channel, which is now on the screen.